Okay, thank you everybody for coming out here this evening. It's evening for me. I know some of our friends and community members are already in the morning time, but this particular meeting, we're going to be happy to talk with some of our partners that have been working with us for a while now. And I just wanted the community and anybody who's just discovering SWP to get familiar with who's partnering with us. And we're going to cover a little bit of, who are the people that are partnering with us, and then also talk a little bit about your background and experience with kind of the origin story of this project. And then we're going to take a few minutes and talk about where we see this going in the future, this year, but even on into the future after that. So we'll start with you, Deb. I'd like to introduce you. This is Deb. She's been working with us for a while. Would you tell everybody a little bit of what you do, if you want to tell what you do besides being a crypto influencer and in real life, and also a little bit of what you enjoy doing? Just let everybody get to know you a little bit.
Absolutely. So my name is Deb. I used to go by Crypto Deb, but I rebranded like a year or two ago. So some of you know me from 2021. I've been in this space. I did a lot of YouTube videos, a lot of Twitter spaces, helped a lot of different projects grow. And then this past year, I stopped being full-time in crypto and I decided to go back to school for nursing. So I'm currently finishing up my last two classes before I can actually apply for a program, which I'm very excited about. And I also teach dance to children with autism on the weekends, which definitely, fills my time. And things that I enjoy. I mean, I keep myself pretty busy with all the things that I do and studying and stuff. But I really just enjoy like spending time with my dog. That's kind of what brings me joy in life.
So what is the when you're studying, what's the job going to be at the end of the studies?
So I'm thinking about a lot of different things. Ideally, like I could see myself like in ER or ICU, but I do very much so need to learn how to separate myself from things because I can kind of take things on. So I mean, there are a lot of options with nursing, which is great. So I could even do like case manager. I could even be at a specialist office. So the good thing is once I get my degree and once I go through like rotations, I can kind of figure out what I like, what I don't like, what I feel like I can handle, and kind of like go from there.
Yeah. So I think that the nerves that are required for an ICU are probably exactly the same as you need for crypto.
Yeah,
You
most
have
of
to be able to see blood, people
yeah.
dying, all of the above, and then just do what you need to do, right? And just have steady nerves. It's definitely, yeah, one of those things. Well, great, interesting. Okay, well, thanks. Well, I'll move on to oh, Captain, my Captain.
Yeah.
Captain Adam Shelton. So tell
Yes.
us a little bit. Just what do you do for a living? Are you primarily making content? Is that all you do? Do you do something else as well?
I'm a full-time content creator. And also teach content. I actually teach content on a weekly basis to maybe about 100 people a week, up to 100 people a week. So I partnered with the affiliate marketing company about 3 years ago, and I've been teaching content, teaching them how to use a camera, teach them how to edit their stuff, teach them how to find what's out there, what they're interested in. So, and then I also partnered with like other brands and stuff. Like I was promoting these headphones,
Yeah.
you
Okay.
know, so I'll promote not only this crypto projects, but also
Oh,
promote other stuff as well, little commercials. So I got another one coming up here in about maybe in a couple of days. So I'm enjoying it. And I just like putting myself out there and making content and making people laugh or educating them about whatever I'm doing, whatever I'm talking about.
that's cool. So how long have you been in crypto?
I've been in since 2018.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I started making content actually in about 2020 though.
Okay.
So I started to just basically, I was holding all this crypto in stocks, and I was like, you know what? I might as well start talking about what I own. And so I was like,
Hmm.
so I started out just regular blue chip projects like Bitcoin, XRP,
Yeah.
and then the bull run came, and then it changed everything.
Yeah. Yeah. I forgot to ask you that, Deb. How long ago did you get into crypto?
So I got into the space just on like Robinhood in like 2020. I
Mhm.
got really into like DeFi, like when SafeMoon became a big thing, and then kind of just like
Oh, yeah.
without doing much research, dove like headfirst into this space and did not look back since.
Yeah.
Yeah, my first purchase was Robinhood as well.
Yeah,
Really?
It was on Robinhood, and I think I bought Doge. I bought
same.
Doge on
Same.
Robinhood, very first purchase. And I'm a real estate agent, as some of you know, and I
I
was
was
sitting at
wondering.
an open house with my colleague, and I actually have a business coach that I had for many years, and he kept pushing me to become an investor, to see myself as an investor, not just as an agent, because obviously as an investor is, first of all, that's where you make the real money, and also it's more of a long-term, vision of being an investor as opposed to just doing a job, right? So,
Mhm.
part of it was I'm just got this, I'm an investor, and I was just like, I don't know anything about stocks, I don't know anything about Robinhood, but I had heard about Doge, and I ended up sitting at this open house, and I bought, I forget, I think it was $5,000 worth of
Yeah.
Doge on the app. And while I'm sitting
Wow.
here doing this open house with my colleague, I still remember it like it was yesterday. I look up and I said, "Hey, Jesse, I just made $500 because it had gone up." And I think there is a little bit of this thing that
Wow.
we can talk about this in a little bit, but I think there is a little bit of this that everyone in crypto has to be careful of, which is truly the kind of the gambling addiction. The gambling addiction. I mean, there's a difference between investing and gambling, but if you ever have an easy win, you might have a little taste for the gambling,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that can
Yeah.
be a dangerous thing in real life. So,
Yeah.
all right, Mr. Bleaves, how
What's
are you
going
doing
on?
today?
I'm doing good.
Awesome to have you. So, same question. We're just trying to get the community. Let's just assume if there's someone out there who doesn't know any of us, has never met any of us,
Yeah.
just who are you? What do you do? What do you do besides talk about SWP or crypto? You feel free to tell whatever you like?
Yeah, sure. I work out. That's it.
I work out. Okay.
Yeah, I don't have I do crypto.
Yeah.
Basically retired, and
Oh, didn't
I
know
do
that.
content creation, and that's about it.
Awesome. Lots of content creation. Yep. Okay.
Wow. Yeah.
That's cool. So, how long have you been in crypto?
2021 beginning. So the long story short, the beginning of 2021, I saw what was happening with Doge. Decided that I didn't like Doge. I was probably late on Doge, so
Yeah.
one day I bought like $200 worth of Keanu, which was a crypto that was around at that time. And within days it pumped up, and then my $200 was like $5,000. And then I was like, well, God damn, like this is going to be easy. I'll be a millionaire by Sunday.
There we go. The gambling addiction kicked
And then
in.
of course it tanked. It tanked. And then I was like, well, fuck this. I'm not going to do this anymore. And by the way, I was still up significantly from $200, but I didn't have $5,000 anymore. So waited until, I want to say about 6 months. In the meantime, they needed somebody on YouTube talking about Keanu. So I said, sure, I'll do it. So that got me to YouTube. And then, then I saw Deb and I was smitten, and it was over. And I said, oh my God, now I have to be an influencer because God damn it. Look at this girl, this beautiful woman here doing this out here. And I'm just kidding. I didn't even know her at that time, but it was, it was one of those things where, it just seemed like an opportune time. I didn't have any visions of grandeur or anything like that, other than, maybe this thing will blow up. And it didn't blow up exactly the way that I wanted, but it did blow up enough that I made a bunch of money off of it. And then I moved on to Saitama.
That's cool. Okay. Yeah. So the second question was basically your relationship with this project. When I say that, the story, if you don't know, if you're watching this and you don't know, is sort of a revival of the community, not the devs and not the core group, but the community. And again, there's no connection whatsoever between the token itself or the blockchain or anything of the sort. It's just a community getting back together essentially seeking a second chance, seeking a chance at redemption, seeking a chance to have a second chance to maybe not make the same mistakes, and also to drive under a new leadership that's not going to do the same things the original team did. So what is your experience with this project? And you can go all the way back to 2021. And if you want to go back to May of last year when the Solana version of Saitama was launched, whatever you like to share. Again, I'll start with you, Deb.
For sure. So throwing it back to 2021, I mean, backstory, like I was always on like BSC projects. And I heard about Saitama, people were talking about it, people were making a lot of money. And I was like, not going to join an ETH project, like not my space, like whatever. And like the community just kept pushing and pushing. And I ended up having someone from the community like on my live stream and was just like talking so like praising Saitama so much that I was like, okay, like I guess I'll get involved. And someone came on my live stream and like I think they sent me like $500, $1,000 worth of tokens just for like having that guy on my live stream. And I was like, damn, there must be, you know, something that I'm missing here. So I very quickly like started getting a lot of support from the community, and then, you know, started making like almost all Saitama videos. I started having like Russ and some of the other devs on my channel, and like very quickly became like such a maxi for Saitama. Like I put my face behind it, and I, you know, had a lot of money invested, and I got very emotionally attached, and I ignored a lot of the red flags that were happening. And, you know, slowly but surely, I kind of started catching on like, hey, things aren't like too right. And I, you know, started distancing myself a lot. But like one of the main reasons why I was involved in the old Saitama, like, was because the community was all, I mean, mostly there's some weirdos, but very supportive, very uplifting, very like community building. And that's what kind of led me to SWP is, you know, at first, like, I kind of was like, oh, like, I'm not sure, just because of I was burnt so badly by old Saitama. But then looking into SWP and seeing a lot of the same like familiar faces and the same people who had such passion and drive who were involved in 2021 coming back together and joining a project where things are being done by the book. Like it's not like a bunch of empty promises. It's not all hype. It's like, oh, we're going to deliver on these things, then move on to something else we're going to deliver on. That's something that really drove me and, you know, one, made me curious, and then also like eventually obviously made me want to get involved, which is why I'm like on on the live stream with you guys today.
Yeah, no, and I appreciate that. I was thinking the same thing, that, I mean, I've talked with people who just, you know, they feel so burned that they don't want to put their name anywhere near the S word. I call it the S word. And it's just like, and it's like, in some ways I understand it, but in some ways I'm saying, do you not hear what I'm saying here? Like you're still like acting as if, or you still can't get the fact that this is a completely separate project where it's the pack getting back together. It's not, you know, the devs or whoever else did anything wrong. And it's a totally different focus, because this is a meme token. This is a meme. This is not a new blockchain. This is not a utility token. It's not going to be the actual currency for South Sudan. It's not. It's going to be a meme. However, the community is what makes a meme, and having fun together and creating content and doing whatever the heck we want to do. That's what a meme is. But it's very different. But I think a lot of people seem to miss that. So I really appreciate you having the confidence to kind of come back and see that and put your name behind this current iteration of the project. And I think that, you know, I think all of us are kind of in the same boat on that piece. So when did you, let me get some dates here, because I'm very like, I'm so keen on the history of it. What month do you remember roughly you got in 2021? Like you got that $1,000 or whatever. Like, was that in June, July, August?
I think it was around August when they already had like a little bit of an initial pump. Because when I got in, I mean, I think I got in and, you know, I invested like here and there. I think I maybe put like $5,000-$6,000 into the project, and like by the time it was the SATA mask launch, or supposed SATA mask launch, like I think I got up to like 200K, and like, you know, some people had millions, but that was like literally life-changing money for me. But I remember sitting there with my Saitama on my ledger and about to sell. And I was just like, the greed took over. It was like, if this 10Xs, I'll literally be a millionaire and I will be set. And then slowly but surely, you know, not slowly, but very rapidly, it starts dropping. And then I ended up maybe making $1,000 off the investment. So I didn't like lose horribly, but like compared to what I could have gotten, it was just like such a slap in the face.
Oh yeah.
So were you at the Vegas event?
I was not. I remember I was doing like a little like live stream at home, just like, oh, like all of us who didn't end up going, let's all talk here and see what happens. And we were just like, oh, like this is not looking good.
You were still positive to it at that time.
I think I had some doubts, but I think because I had like Saitama attached to my name so much, and like I remember even like back in the day, a lot of people did not like people diversifying. So there was like another project that I, you know, was involved with that I believed in, where I would like talk to the devs and they're like, oh, if you talk about that project, like you're not really a part of Saitama. I'm just like, okay, whatever. So I kind of had like red flags here and there, but I was still like definitely at least hopeful that it would make some kind of comeback. But obviously it didn't end up happening like that.
And then the Solana version, when it was kind of this new fresh start, when did you get in? Was that back when it first was launched with Faltron in May of last year?
So I kind of got involved. I think I bought like a small bag, and I think I had like one Twitter space with them. And then around that time was kind of when I was like, oh, I'm going to go back to school and blah, blah. And I had like a really rigorous, like 6-week anatomy course. So I kind of like logged off Twitter for like 2 months. And then, you know, making my way back into the space after that break was when I, you know, got introduced to SWP.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. And even in that first token had like a 20x. It was a big pump, like in the very, very beginning, up to that first peak for a brief period, because I had 577,000 tokens, which cost me like $4,000 or something like that. And I remember looking at my wallet and it was $120,000. So it was a pretty serious pump from the early. And I was in like a few days after it, and I saw the word Saitama. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. Let's do this again, but let's do it the right way. And everybody was pumped at that time. It was kind of this crazy. There were people screaming and stuff. It was like, you know, yeah, it was interesting to see the history. I guess the thing about all of this, like everything you're sharing and all this, is the stories. Because there's the big story. The big story is the story that we're documenting, right? We're documenting it both in real conversations and videos and in a cartoon. If you didn't know that, we're making a cartoon about the whole thing. And the story, but then there's your individual story and your individual story and your individual story and my story. And just because this is such a crazy thing, like you said, life-changing, like for somebody, you know, $200,000 may not be a lot of money. For other people, it is totally off the charts, life-changing. And for some people in some countries, the people that I talk with a lot now from all over the world, that is like generational, you know, the kind of numbers that they're seeing, just that multiplication it can change lives. It can save lives. I mean, it is massive what something that is successful can do. So it's about stories. That's what I feel is cool about memes, and this meme in particular. So, all right. So, Captain. So, when did you buy in first?
Oh man, July of 2021. A friend of mine, Steve Rocket Crypto, he actually reached out to me, and he was leaving Shiba at the time. So
I remember it was a big deal because I used to watch his videos, Shiba videos.
Yeah.
I was in SHIB. I had put my life savings in SHIB.
Yeah.
And it flatlined. I literally put in my life savings and it flatlined.
Yeah. So he was there.
What the heck?
Yeah.
That was in May. In May of 2021. I put every penny I had into SHIB. And it flatlined because there was that first pump, and then it kind of went down, and then it just stayed flat for a long time until I gave up. I never made anything. I pulled it all out and put it in Saitama. But yeah.
God. Wow.
And I remember when Steve left, and he went to this other token, and it was like, what the heck? Like he's
yeah. When he left, he reached out and he's like, man, I'm going to Saitama. You need to come with me. And at that time, I was just like, you couldn't tell me anything about SHIB. I was just completely SHIB. I had missed out on getting early on SHIB because I had another friend of mine told me to buy SHIB in August of 2020, which I still to this day talk about. That's a story itself. But July is when I got in, and he walked me through the steps. He's like, this is going to be big. So I first initially put in like $1,000 July 2021. And then August, just like Crypto Deb, what Deb was saying, it started to have that pump there. And Steve Rocker Crypto said, listen, this is going to billions. He literally told me that. He's like, this is going to billions. Keep doing what you're doing. So I kept doing content like all the time. Like it was just like what Deb was saying. It was lives. It was Twitter Spaces at that time. Was it called Twitter Spaces back then? I'm trying to remember if it was called. But I know YouTube. Yeah. So it was a lot of the events, and I was able to really grow very fast with Saitama because that's when I started to be connected with other influencers like your Zach Humphreys in Austin, because they were starting to cover as well, and the Hinnock was covering it later on. Deb, Lee started to get to know them later on, and then the event itself, I was like, I'm completely going to this event. Yeah, of course they promoted it like it was like you had to be there. They made it look like, you know, this is going to really rock the whole crypto scene. They did a good job of really convincing, putting money behind it and putting like their person behind. So I went. I documented.
How much was the ticket? How much was your ticket to get in? $500 or?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember how much it was. Maybe like
I remember the ad for it, and I was up like crazy, and I just decided not to go. I don't remember why.
Oh, okay.
I think it was COVID. You know, that was like in the middle of COVID, right? 2021. 2021. It was COVID was still a thing. That's
Nelson says it was $400.
$400 a ticket.
Was it $400? That sounds maybe about right.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm trying to remember it was there. Yeah.
So you were still, when did you start feeling, well, Steve left long before Vegas, right?
He was still there.
Oh.
He was still there, and he would just give me some things on the side. This is what's going on. I had him on my channel. I've been on his channel. So we were really good friends. I mean, we were really good friends at the time. But he, like Believe was saying, he was still there. Now, he was not at the Saitama event, which I thought he was going to be there. But obviously the rest of the team was there. Well, most of the team was there at the event. So I documented the journey. Like I was driving there, get on the plane, got there early. I got there early.
Yeah.
So, so I was there. And that's when I met other people there. And just like the cartoon series is going, it's going exactly what happened.
Okay.
Obviously other stuff, but yeah.
Yeah, and it's funny, like, you know, it's like we're if you're wondering what Adam is talking about, this cartoon series is basically just telling the story, and it's very brief because every cartoon is like a minute and 20 seconds, just telling a little. So you got to remember that people's attention span nowadays is so short that you can't do a 15-minute cartoon, or it would have to be like very few people ready. If you watch like the views on things and you see that like, oh, I got lots of views, and then you look and like most people saw the first second, you know, and then the rest of them like 1% saw the rest of it. So, but yeah, it's a very interesting story. So when did you start feeling an uneasy feeling? Was it after the event and shortly after?
During the event. During the event, when we're in that nightclub, it was like a small nightclub, and they were running out of drinks. It was hot in there. It wasn't enough space to hold everybody. And I remember it was a long line of people. It was almost like the Academy Awards. People were dressed out like, listen, I put my whole life savings in this. They put their Sunday best, and And I got an old video where I was interviewing people in the line. I still have that, where I was interviewing people on the line while Jake was indoors just on his phone doing all this was going on, you know, and all this is going on was funny. It was crazy. So right when Russ got on stage, and I did kind of hear some whispers where they wasn't necessarily ready to really produce what they really wanted. That's when I felt like, yep.
So interesting. Very interesting. Yeah.
Well,
so
I just heard whispers behind the background, behind the scenes.
So I remember seeing like there was like Max wasn't there, and Max was supposedly making the product. It was clear that the product wasn't going to be actually released that day. And long afterwards, I hear Russ saying that, oh, no, we told everybody it wasn't going to be released, but we had the event planned. So we just did it anyway. And I'm like, every single person I know was buying. There were people buying millions and millions of dollars were bought the day before because they wanted to buy before it was released. So the average person did not know that it wasn't going to be released, because that's why they were FOMOing in. And
and I was there. I was looking at wallets. I mean, this one person showed me. He showed me his wallet was like $4 million.
Yeah.
He just showed his wallet. He was in the, I never forget it, $4 million.
Yeah.
And he was just really proud. He's like, man, this 4 million is going to turn to 8. I'm going to double this. $4 million. He showed me right on his phone.
Yeah. And I think that's the part, like Deb was saying, is that
never forget that.
Obviously my wallet was the same. It was the highest that it ever was that day.
It was like me in a dream. Everybody's wallet was crazy high. I felt like it was in a dream. Mine was ridiculous.
And you had to make the choice. So because I had gone through so many 10Xs.
Yeah.
So I think I was at 140X from when I first went in, and I went in hard. And it was like, to see 140X, the hard part about saying, you know what, cash in your chips and go home rich, was what if it 10Xs again? Yeah. And if you look at that number and you understand what 10X would be, let's say the $4 million, right? $4 million is good. $40 million is life-changing. Or as the joke is, $4 million is life-changing. $40 million is wife-changing. So anyway, but the problem is, if the person didn't cash in, he maybe wrote it to the end. And I think the challenge was this disbelief that people had about it's just a dip. And the interesting thing is, if you look back, and I remember it, is that there was a good pump in January, because I think that was when it was actually was going to be launched. They had the beta version, I think January 8th, 2022. The app was actually launched. It didn't really work very well, but it did. It was still this belief that the world is changing, and I believe crypto's changing the world, and it's going to be everywhere. And there's this tiny percentage of the population has crypto. So I didn't kind of believe in the cycles, because I thought this was the time when this liquidity shifts over here. So the cycles of crypto from since it started, it wasn't going to apply this time.
Right. Yes. And during that, I did took some profit out, because a friend of mine was like, and I did a video of it. He's like, he gave me some tips. He's like, if you see the room going south, start taking profits. So I did take some profits during that time, during the event as well. And when it went down, like you're saying, I bought the dip.
Yep.
Where others were, oh my God, you should have seen it. People were freaking out when that price started to come down, and I started looking at people's faces. People were freaking out. Now, some people was like, yeah, we're going to pump back up. You had that. I actually was starting to think like, you know what? Maybe this is a plan.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. All right, Bleaves. So when did you first kind of come across you were doing you mentioned you had some other tokens that you were working with. You discovered Saitama. You started covering it on your channel?
Yeah, in July of 2021. It was a new project. I was trying to grow my channel. I reached out to about 7 different cryptos. Saitama, I talked to Nam Tran. He said, yeah, we'd be honored to have you cover it. So cool. Talked to like Kishu, a bunch of other ones. Sandshu. WagMe,
Jesus.
Starlink, and Shib told me to go fuck myself. That I was just soft shilling every other project on the planet to their people because they were just a bunch of paranoid losers. No offense, anybody made money, paranoid loser. But yeah, around July, I started talking about it, and I was talking about it because it was hot to talk about, and it would bring eyes into my channel. So
Yeah.
and at that point, by the way, in July, I didn't even have a bag. I didn't have a bag until August the 2nd. And I put $1,000 in, and that had come from my Keanu money at one point. So then it ran up to, I want to say about 10,000, and I cashed it out because like I'm not 10x. You fucking kidding me? Like I don't need $1 million. I need that $10,000. So I did that through that period of time. Got to, about the time that the launch was going to happen, and for the month leading up to it, what I did was Keanu had collapsed at that point. So I basically had about 20 grand. And at that point, I was just, so the way that was trading, I think it was like 808 and 809 is where it was trading. And every day it would dip to 808, and every night it would go to 809. I was making $1,000 a day off of Saitama just playing that margin for all of that time. So that lasted until, and by the way, by that point, I made 37,000 total off of it. And all I was doing was just making $1,000 a day. And then I did, I want to say, because it was like 20,000 I was putting in each time. I want to say that one day, that's when the bottom dropped out. And that 10,000 was suddenly 8,000. And I was like, oh, it's not holding 8 anymore. And somebody had told me that before. It's not going to last that way forever, right? And I'm like, I made 30 grand. I made more than I'm investing right now. If I lose a few bucks, I lose a few bucks. So I cashed out like 16,000 out of that 20, took my loss, and then I was done. So all told, I made 40 grand or so. Not life changing, but it was a good bag.
I think maybe for all three of you, there was a secondary value of it was just because it was a lot of eyeballs on the word at the time. So if you wanted to grow your channels, that was the time to do it during the.
Well, that's what we thought. That you don't realize at the time you're just trying to build a channel. You don't realize that Saitama people, they don't give a shit about any other project that you're talking about. No. So you think you're growing your channel, but all you're doing is adding subscribers. You're not growing.
Yeah, so they just move on as soon as they, as soon as another token comes out and you're not talking about it, they're not going to come back and listen to you talk about something else. Yeah,
right. The other people are going to tell you that you're soft shilling to other projects. We're a very conspiracy minded sort of group of people. Libertarians reign supreme here. So there's always a reason that somebody's trying to. I think back then it was called soft shill.
Yeah.
They were calling it a soft shill. If you talk about any other project and offend the purity of my Saitama, then, or my Shib or whatever project it is, then that's what you're doing.
Yep.
Interesting. So, all right. So when did you were early with the May 2024? Were you not were you one of the first within the first week or so? You found out about it, or did you?
Let me give you the bridge between those two. After November, after everything started to collapse on Saitama, I was still very positive about it. I was friends with Rodney, I was friends with Jake, I was friends with Austin, awesome Austin.
I remember.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So I was friends with all these guys. I was spending a lot
There's
of
two
time
Austins. You can't mix them up.
Yeah,
Awesome Austin and Austin Hilton, right?
There's Austin Rant from Block Bites. So and I'm partnered with him on DevE. So I've got Austins fucking everywhere. So we decide, they start going they start going conspiracy crazy on it, right? I, in the meantime, said, you know what? No matter what, Russ is out here taking bullets for everybody. So I'm going to give this guy a chance. I'm not buying any of these fucking tokens, but I'm going to give him a chance. because it's good for, because it's good for engagement, right? And again, I'm still a neophyte at that point. It's good for engagement, so why not?
Right.
So I started messing with that. And while everybody else was talking mad shit, I was very supportive. And then, as probably the last person who was supporting them, one day I was like, none of this shit adds up. So we need to be honest about it and start talking, having an honest conversation. I appreciate everything Russ has been doing because, there's a lot of garbage going on around, but he's standing there in front of everybody, like I said, taking bullets for every failure. And Max Hernandez, I want to say probably the worst programmer in history, probably couldn't program a calculator. You know what I mean? But he, that's who they're defending the entire time, that we're working on it, blah, blah, blah. Well, then it turns out he just can't make it. He doesn't have the capacity or the ability to do what they want him to do. Right. So during that whole time, of course, the price action comes down and every pump is met with everybody rejoice. We're going back. And then I reached a point where Faltron, and Faltron and I are friends now, but at the time, fuck that guy. And Kelbell and I are friends now, but at the time, fuck her. They're out of their goddamn minds. They're in these chats telling everybody it's going back up. It's going back up. You guys don't understand how great Saitama Mask. You don't understand how great it's going to be. Like, imagine your life and you're playing a game like Skyrim or something like that. Well, you know what? You could actually be playing a 1980s 8-bit dot fucking game called Wolfcaster if you're lucky. They're doing this shit. And then the day that it was over for me was when Faltron and Kelbell were having these they were posting nonstop. And there was a couple other people in there, but they escaped me at the moment. And they were talking about Russ having killed the dinosaurs because somebody's talking about some kind of extinction bullshit on Twitter. And they're like, Russ killed the dinosaurs and all this kind of shit. I'm like, you guys don't even see what's going. Fuck this, And then I didn't talk about it again until Faltron reached out to me. He was CTOing the Saitama
on Soul, we called it. Solana
right.
Soul.
So he was CTOing Saitama on Soul, and I was like, well, give me some tokens and I'll make some videos and shit like that. And he was like, yeah, let's do it, baby. He gave me $1,000 worth of tokens, and 3 days later it was like 27 grand.
That's sweet.
So I cashed out like 15 grand. Kept the other 12 in. That other 12 went back down to, I want to say, under 1,000, which of course I was already way up. So who gives a shit? But then I could see he was getting frustrated and he was not equipped to do what needed to be done to drive the project. What Faltron's very good at is getting his own people and some other people to make spaces and stuff like that, and attract some new people and turn everybody into exit liquidity. That's his forte. So that's what he was doing. And then when that stopped working, then he had to get out. And the next thing you know, everybody who was, remember this, Tom, you were there for it, as a matter of fact. Everybody in those fucking spaces, Alan Stiley, all of these people, we're going to be here for fucking ever, dog. We're running this back. We're doing 7.7 billion and we're going to be in Las Vegas and we're going to do this shit. And it's going to be amazing and awesome and blah, 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 blah. And the moment it started to tank, fuck that, they were gone. Every single one of them. Except you.
So it was interesting because you would see like the next day that somebody was conspicuously missing, and you noticed there had been a big sell-off, and it was like, okay, just do the math. Like, this person's not at, showing up much anymore. They're not showing it. And then you would go on and look at their Twitter account, and it would say, here's a new dog token. Like, right. What do you think just happened? Obviously, they're just moving on to the next thing.
They're the reason it's not a $20 million market cap anymore.
And it's interesting. We've talked about this a lot, and I have to say I appreciate all three of you guys talking about different angles about what it means to be an investor, because obviously there's different strategies and different approaches, and not criticizing the short-term approach. It's just that as a person, if you want to try to get into something and get out before you go to bed tonight, and just not want to sleep with a token because that if you wake up in the morning, there's a good chance it's basically zero. that's the life that a lot of people live. It's just they just have to be. It is, I call it musical chairs, or you get stuck holding the baby, right? You just basically like, okay, now I didn't get out quickly enough because everybody's waiting for that moment to dump, and to have something from a little bit longer term approach. You can't, it's like everybody's playing the same game, but you're playing by a different set of rules. Like the blockchain works the same way for everybody, but how you view it and how you engage it is just different. And, honestly, I feel like it's fine. I think we need to really just not be upset about the short-term people, because I think that viewing what is a long-term strategy, think about, something long-term like real estate. If you're driving down the street and you look over and say, if you could buy that house that you're passing at the price that your parents could have bought it for, would you think that was a good deal? Like literally, you don't even have to know which house I'm talking about. Anything you see would have been a good deal. It's a matter of just going back in time, and there's value there. And it's, in some cases, if it's something that's still going to be around, same thing with Bitcoin. Obviously, let's look at the king of crypto. You go back in time, you're not going to lose. You're going back in time. And that is really, the challenge, is to be early on something that makes it. It has to be something that makes it, and to be early. That's even a lot of people my friends who bought in Saitama Inu 2021, they got in November. They never did well. They never were up because they bought at the peak, literally at the peak. And so really timing is everything. So timing, and then of course, something that you can trust. Whether it fluctuates, yes, but is it going to literally dump? And are you being fooled? That's really the question. It's kind of a funny thing that it was one of the reasons why, and in hindsight, this sounds really stupid. One of the reasons why I trusted to buy and to not give in to the fudders early on with Saitama Inu was because of videos just like this. I literally remember seeing Nam and Russ and Gabe and Aaron and some of these. I'm seeing these guys having conversations, and I'm thinking they look like trustworthy guys, and no one else was showing their face, so therefore I can trust them. Now that sounds like a really stupid argument at this point, since based on what happened, but that was part of my logic. Was, well, these guys must be more trustworthy, because I could go on Nam's Facebook page and see his little baby. And that sounds crazy, but it was just like, well, I see his family, I see his baby. This is somebody who's not out to rip me off in some way, right? And there was a lot of FUD all the way from the beginning, and I was still hopeful for a long time that there would be a recovery in this bull run, even if it went back to a quarter of what it was. I was still hopeful until. And it was funny because I've said this before. Some of you heard me say that I would listen to Rodney bashing the project, and then he took a break, and I was just mad. I was mad because I'm just like, he's fudding, he's fudding, he's bashing my project.
That's funny.
And then when he started saying, and it was years later, like this is like 3 years later, I happened to be listening. Like I don't even want to hear it. But I'm listening like with this, I don't even know what you call it. Like you're listening to something that's like you're angry about it. And I'm going to be happy to be angry about it. And I'm listening to him talking about how stupid it is, this real estate, because I had switched over to all Cider Realty. So all the real estate token, he's like, they bought a house in Dubai. Like how is that actually going to work? Like how is that going to lead to enough profit to distribute to 7,000 people? And he's just saying none of it makes any sense. And it was actually hearing that for the 100th time, I'm hearing him fudding the project. I was like, he's right. These guys are not supporting this project. That's when I sold. And a lot of the people in the community basically doxed my wallet, because I think they figured out that I was the largest holder. I had a lot, and then started being very angry at me because I sold Cider Realty. But it's like, I'm not the dev. I'm just an investor. Like,
Right.
tell them to support their project, not someone who invested in it. And I was the only one making videos about it, trying to support it. And it was kind of like, okay, this is over. And that's why I thought a second chance would be pretty cool, to have a second chance at this
You know
thing.
something funny about Rodney?
Yeah.
Rodney didn't know shit. He had no idea what was actually going on in this ecosystem. He had no fucking clue. He was just kind of, things are not adding up. You know what I mean? Like he got there a little bit faster than other people got there, but he got there. And then he started talking about his story and why he thinks these things are not valid and why these things are a problem. And, if a normal business did this shit would not happen this way. Like that's, that was his angle. He had no fucking idea what was going on.
Yeah.
And then the people started leaking details to him because he was the only one shitting on the project at that point. Everybody else, Adam, if you remember, Steve just quit making content. He didn't say a word about it. Steve was still in November, by the way, November 2021. He was still technically on that board.
Yeah, he was.
But when he didn't show up, they said that it was because he was having a problem getting through customs with his camera stuff from Africa to the US. But it turns out he never even got on that plane. Fuck that. He was done.
You remember that. That's exactly right.
Yeah. He did not get on that plane. He was like, I'm out of this. Like, I'm selling, I'm getting the fuck out. And matter of fact, he sold the top, just in case anybody was wondering. Steve sold the top. And was gone with the wind after that. But he knew what they were doing. That's the whole thing. Man. He knew what they were doing.
Good.
So he got away.
Well, I think in hindsight, there was a strong, I mean, for me as a person, a strong sense of loyalty to the community. And I just recognize that not everybody's built that way, right? Not everybody would care that, hey, if I sold millions of dollars of tokens in one pop, I would be hurting a project, right? It's like that. I guarantee, in fact, we know not everybody cares at all. If it literally just closed up shop and they walked away, they're like, well, this is how it works. I got out. It doesn't matter what happened. And other people are like, well, I never want to hurt the community because these are other people. And, and it's funny because I think this is also like we show a little bit who we are in this. So let's take a minute and talk about the current project and just what your thoughts are. I mean, you all have a pretty good idea of all the ideas and stuff we've got in the works and the stuff that we're talking about. Start with you, Deb. What are your thoughts? Like, how do you feel about it? I know you, like all three of you guys are doing spaces and videos and lives, and you're doing you're on the VCs and posting and doing different things. And you're aware of the stuff that the team is doing to producing content and things. Yeah. So what are your feelings about it? We'll start with you, Deb.
So like what I said earlier, like one thing that I love and that keeps me like sticking around is that like things that you say are going to happen, like they happen and they're delivered. And it's not like, oh, we're going to overpromise everything. Nothing's going to get done. We're going to build hype. We're going to make it 10x, 100x, and then just like nothing happens. Everything is like fulfilled, which I love. The animations are great. That's what kind of got me involved in the first place. I was like, okay, that is like so relatable. Like they understand that. I love the idea of like a reality TV show with it because that has not been done. And like I've always said, like, crypto is like high school on steroids where it's just like so much drama, so much stuff all the time. So I think that there are like so many amazing utilities that are, being developed for the future. One thing I also like is that, even like at 2:30 a.m. my time, like there's always a SWP space. Like there's consistent content that's coming out, which I like. And it's not only happening when the price is like 5x. It's like, when we're staying like steadily a little bit over 1 million, like people are still pushing and people still believe in it. And the community is always very positive. And like, for me personally, like last thing I'll say is that, I talked to Shayna and we're going to be doing like kind of educational content where I'm going to be utilizing like SWP. So if I'm like doing a video and I'm just like, hey guys, like here's a quick 1-minute video, like what's market cap? Like the thing is I can use SWP as an example for that. So like, you know, we're going to be educating people in this space, not just like, hey, buy SWP, we're going to 1000x overnight. It's like, hey, let us teach you about the space. Let's make it a little safer. And then if you're interested, you can come into the Telegram. You can see how amazing the community is. And if you want to be a part, then like, we'd love to have you. So kind of all of that combined keeps me, you know, excited about the future and keeps me wanting to be involved with SWP.
That's awesome. Yeah, it fits so perfectly with what we're thinking, because we're you know, our goal is to get in front of the normies and to get them to want to join the community, but also to get them to, you know, see themselves as investors, not gamblers, and to understand how it works, understand safety. And I think it's something they will appreciate for a long time if they so that type of content is exactly in line with what I think our vision is. And then, you know, to get some things that are longer form in front of millions of people, like something that can be seen, is the ultimate goal. And to try to come up with a video of some sort that could be viral. But at the end of the day, the only way to ever do that is to just make hundreds of things, and something will be funny enough or crazy enough or whatever, irrelevant enough to get that virality. But I think that we just are making, that's perfect. So awesome. Thank you. Adam, why are you part of this community?
First of all, it's the community. The community is outstanding. It reminds me of how crypto meme coin community it should be. You know, positivity. You've got people in the chat that's just really excited about the direction. And this whole second chance, you know, I know that goes around a lot. Second chance. And I do talk to quite a bit of people that was in the old Saitama, and the first thing they talk about is their losses, obviously.
Yep.
And they have every right with the losses. Probably got in at November. Some of them probably did, or some of them just didn't sell at all and got in early. It happens. But I try to tell them about, you know, sometimes crypto gives you another chance, you know, if you're willing to take that. Now it's, you know, it's like you said, it's not financial advice, but you have an opportunity to make a difference on something that it's set up to be successful in time, but you have to see it to believe it, you know. And crypto is all about timing. We were talking about timing earlier. It is about timing. You know, if you got into the old Saitama in July, August, I mean, by November, you're just going crazy right now. You're like, oh my God. So it's all about, it's about timing. I like the creativity of the cartoon series and things like that. They're spot on, they're funny, and it brings people attention. I don't really see anyone doing that. The creativity of, you know, bring something that really happened taking place in bits and pieces.
Yeah.
And
I haven't seen anyone else doing it. I mean, it may be out there somewhere, but not about a meme token.
No,
about other things, but not about a meme token. I think that's cool, and hopefully that gets visibility. I love it. I love it, and I have to say I love your spreadsheets when you're talking about the numbers. I think that's just an average person just to figure out, like, okay, if I did this and this happens, then this is what I would have. Hey, I actually have this much. You know, some people, you know, they've got a very small amount. They want to see that number become big. Some people, they've got more. That's great. All right, Bleaves, why are you hanging out with us? Where are you?
Crack.
Why are you in the SWP community?
Crack. Before I get started, I wanted to say one thing. This lady above me is an inspiration, or has been an inspiration to me. She went through a very traumatic sort of time a few years ago and survived, and then thrived. And, you know, I don't know that I've ever said this out publicly, but I love this girl. It was amazing. Even though I'm just a lurker watching her journey, it was, you know what I mean? Like it was good to see. You don't always see a good ending to life, and to see her, you know, have, at least for that chapter of her life, a good ending, was an inspiration to me. For those that don't know, I lost my daughter when I was, she was 18 years old. So anytime I see somebody going through stuff, I get more sensitive, today than I would have 15 years ago. Today I look at things a different way. 15 years ago, I would have looked at somebody going through chemo. I'm like, shut up, Baldy. You know what I mean? Because I would think it's fucking hilarious. But that is not life. And, she's been an inspiration to me, even when she's not around. So thank you.
Thank you, Blaze. I appreciate you.
Yeah. Yes.
And what the fuck are we talking about?
Why did you choose to, be a part of this community and actually, you putting your name behind us? Obviously, you must trust us. You must trust me to a certain extent, right? So you wouldn't dare to, say stuff about this.
I think that even through remember there were certain things. There were what I saw go on. I already made my money, so it really was irrelevant. Then I saw that you took over, and then I saw that you gave a shit about the project in a way that other people did not. Now, that, first of all, that we should recognize, that's no guarantee of success. That's just a guarantee of passion. And nothing else will happen, most likely, without a little bit of that passion. So you were passionate about what you thought. You and I had conversations before. As a matter of fact, we had one for about 2 hours one day when I was at the gym. Do you remember that one? Mm-hmm. Where we were talking about, like, don't fucking do that video ever again. Don't let people do that shit anymore. Like, that is, you know what I mean? Wow. Like, that's that moment again, that was, I think it was Viper. During the course of some of that, I knew once we had that conversation, I was comfortable enough with you to realize that it was probably out of your hands still, despite being the CEO, or that you guys just didn't see what was going on, or you weren't recognizing the signals that were happening right there and the hate that this guy was putting out. But then when you did, you immediately course corrected everything, made everything as right as it could possibly be. And for me, that's enough. The second step is, now that I know your character, can we build a project? Is it possible to build something that's going to sustain? Well, that's difficult. Something that's going to pump super hard. I think that part, yes. I tell people right now that I think 20 million market cap right now would be a tremendous victory for this project. That would be a tremendous victory. And we've already been there once. Yeah. In the V1. So it was maybe 16, 17. And by the way, I don't even consider that big. When some, I don't remember who it was, but they threw in like $100,000 or something like that at one point. Yeah. Fucking around. God, I wish I had a sell order at the top of that one. You know what I mean? But yeah. Once I recognize that you've got the passion to continue, then the next question is, does he have a plan? We're not always going to agree on the plan, 100%, but the fact that you have a plan is enough for me. Right. So I'm aboard, and I think that we've had some unforced difficulty in the market that we're not doing anything to cause. Right. Trump administration's trying to work through some tariffs, and I think that they've kind of screwed the bull run a little bit early and pushed it out a little bit further. Yep. Yeah. Because we're also still going to get it. Like, it's still going. I look at for anybody who follows me, I look at global liquidity index. I look at global liquidity flows. And right now we're at the start of holy fucking shit, I can't believe this is happening mode. Right. We're 70 days out, which is where it starts, away from where it, global liquidity starts to flow from, a trickle to just a holy shit moment. And that's what's happening right now. Like, you see it on the charts, you can see it on the all of that. And I think that we are timed and primed in a perfect position to take advantage of that opportunity. The one part that I always have a problem with, and you guys know that because my thing is engagement. People who are in the project, we've got to bring in somebody else to get engaged with it, because it doesn't really matter. What matters the most is not that everybody clicks like or comments or anything like that. What really matters is the day that they stop or they don't. That's when we find out how weak we really are.
Mhm.
And we've done a really good job so far of being at least semi-strong. But again, for me, I just want to see us bring in new people who
Yeah.
are interested investors who want to do that SHIB thing one more time, or want to do that original Saitama thing one more time without the backdoor selling, but still have those people doing those things and engaging with content and getting new investors in and getting those people to do the same thing. And let's build the number of likes that we get everywhere. Let's build the number of comments we get everywhere. Let's build the retweets we get everywhere. If we build that and continue to do that, then guess what? Eventually,
Yep.
people will look at the liquidity, and it's the whales that are really going to matter. It's the institutions, it's the whales.
Yeah.
If we put the right shine on the project and we create value for people's time, they're going to invest, and then those institutions will start to take a bite as well, and it'll drive the price through the roof. So, I mean, that really, and I think that this is one that can do it. And I trust your leadership basically to take us to that level. Things might fall apart at 20 million for all I know, but I think that you've got the ability to manage us to a $20 million project. And then from there, who the fuck knows?
Yeah. And I think that is part of the, that there's a lot of pieces of this story. Like you were talking about making some mistakes. There were a number of mistakes or technical glitches and other things. We're looking back at, we're coming up on a year since that first Saitama on Sol. So, and that also a little bit kind of explains to me people who can't sit 24/7 and chill and it's like, they're getting tired. This is it's almost a year. We're talking like some of them 9 months and 10 months. So I understand that. It doesn't mean that we're not on the cusp of this, like what we've been waiting for.
Yeah.
And I think that, casting the vision, my goal is to make sure that the vision is something past our November event, past whenever this bull run peaks, whether it be in November again, or whether it be in January, or whether it be next year, or whenever the peak is, that we're building something that is long lasting. Like, so your favorite sports team, believes?
Louisville Cardinals.
The Louisville Cardinals. So you don't like Louisville Cardinals for one season, right? You like them because you like them. And that's kind of like, in the meme world, you're either you're a Wolfpack member or you're not. It's not.
I like them because my family will stab me if I don't support.
Well, yeah. It's just like, it is one of those things. I was actually, I was talking with April earlier, and I said, was talking about meme. And so I just went on to AI and asked it, what is a meme? Because, verifying that we were doing some really, really cool quotes. And I said, let's just take all these quotes, like really like good ones, intelligent from books and seminars that I had written down, and just put them with the SWP logos, plagiarizing, making it look like I came up with it or something, but just not putting an author, just putting the logo and just putting some good quotes and making a meme out of it. And so I was just thinking, well, what is a meme actually? What does the word actually mean? So I put it into AI, and it said, a meme is an idea, behavior, style, or piece of media that spreads from one person to person within a culture, often aiming at conveying a particular phenomenon, theme, or meaning. In today's digital world, a meme usually refers to an image, video, or piece of text, often humorous in nature, that is copied and spread rapidly by internet users, sometimes with slight variations. The term was originally coined by biologist Richard Dawkins in his 1976 book, The Selfish Gene, where he used it to describe how cultural information spreads and evolves, similar to how genes do in biology. So whether it's a viral joke, a catchphrase, or a trending image with captions, if it spreads and mutates through sharing, it's a meme. And it was kind of funny because I honestly, I've been dealing with memes now for almost 4 years, and it's like, oh, like, what does the word actually mean? And it's interesting because, absolutely, by that definition, we are a meme token. We are a meme community. And it has to do with, just identifying. And I really like this. Gordon's always saying, no wolf left behind. We posted earlier today the meme that said the strength of the pack is each individual wolf, and the strength of each wolf is the pack. And so that's part of our, our meme, our community has to do with sticking together. And part of this, kind of back to what you were talking about, Bleaves, part of what actually drove me to feel like I'm going to fight for this, to the death, was I actually was at a point where I wasn't really financially super heavily invested in the project, partly because a lot of my money actually was locked up and destroyed by one of the previous devs with the vision token, which was destroyed. It was Russ's project, but it was destroyed by MK. So if he goes to jail, good for him. So a lot of my bigger money was in that project, and it was literally locked because somebody bricked the token, and MK said that he did it. So I only had a little bit to put into this original token. So I wasn't financially like over-invested. It's not the kind of money that I couldn't make again by selling a couple houses. But I remember as I was I joined the core group, talking to community members, and I was actually hearing some of the community members that were kind of pouring out their heart and soul into this. And one of them said, I've got my retirement in this thing. I know that sounds horrible. It sounds horrible. Like, I'm not encouraging anybody to take their retirement account and put it into a meme token. I'm not at all. But just understanding that there's a lot of people, where what they put in, that's basically the discretionary, that's what they have. And they're just so tired of going into things, believing, and then they're just getting rug pulled again and again and again. And just hearing that, whether we consider that a foolish thing or not, but understanding this is a real person who's actually invested. Actually, there was a community member who told me that he was in, at that peak before, and he had put in like $40,000 into the project. And it just, hearing that people are going in, and they're going into things every day of the week on other projects and getting rug pulled. And I just felt so strongly that I don't want that to be the case for the people that have gone into this. Like these particular people didn't join because of me by any stretch. They joined previously, but I felt like, I just want to make it a success for everybody, who, especially those who are in early. Because honestly, like we say, the ones that are in early have the ability to take profits and still keep, a large bag. They're the ones. The people in at the peak, honestly, they're going to wait till the next bull run. Like literally, there's nothing you or I can do about that, right? It goes up. If they buy at the peak, there's nothing to do with me. It's a cycle. They just have to understand. That's why we're begging people to get in early. We had it. We were down at $180,000. We were at $350,000. We're now at $1 million. Like all we can do is say get in as early as you can, and then it gives you a stronger position if, as an investor. So, all right. So any final words for closing out our evening, Deb?
Yeah, one quick show that April put in the comments, so thank you for reminding me. This Monday at 4 p.m. PST, 7 p.m. EST, we're going to be doing a Twitter space with some trivia and a giveaway. So we're going to have 3 winners of $100 of SWP each. So definitely set those reminders, and I look forward to seeing you guys there.
Awesome.
I love it. Means me, by the way.
Lots of spaces, giveaways, having fun, keeping the community engaged. Yeah, I agree. Yeah. So, guys and gals, I hope this is not the last of our videos like this. I hope we get lots of views on this one. I think we kind of covered a lot of the background, so we can decide whatever we talk about. And again, I can always do, just it doesn't always have to be all 4 of us. It could be 2 of us, 3 of us, whatever works. But I just love the fact that having the the faces for me is so much more. It feels so weird for me to talk on the spaces where nobody can see my face. They're just hearing my voice.
Yeah.
And then it feels like a monologue
Mhm.
because
It
it's so hard
does.
to unmute
Yeah.
people. I love the Telegram because anybody can break in and say their thing, and just it's more of a conversation. It's just harder on a space. So, but I think this is great. So, all right. Well, thank you guys for coming out, and we'll do it again. Have a good rest of your evening.
Absolutely. You guys too.
You too.
All right.
Next
Thank
one.
you. Thanks.